Well, Ameris House, that was that
So they're going up.
property he put up for sale, that was part of the plan, was to house workers there. Okay. We're ready. Sit down, Arnie.
And don't,
It's showtime, sit down.
and don't do that.
Good evening. Welcome to the October 18th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, I would request that everyone please turn off or mute all cell phones and other electronic devices. I would also ask everyone to please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Applications for a conditional use permit request heard during tonight's meeting will be voted on by the commission, and the commission will make a recommendation to the county council. The applications will then be scheduled to be introduced before the county council at their Monday, November 13th, 2023 county council meeting. Public comment for conditional use permit requests will be taken during tonight's meeting and at the council meeting on Monday, November 13th, 2023. Public comment on conditional use permit applications will not be taken at any meeting of the county council held thereafter. Applications for preliminary plats heard during tonight's meeting will be voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission during the meeting. The vote on preliminary plats is final. Only a recommendation for denial of a preliminary plat would be heard before the county council at their Monday, November 13th, 2023 meeting. The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for this evening's public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those documents are the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, the year 2030 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2030 Future Land Use Plan Map, and the Rules of Order and Procedure for the Planning and Zoning Commission as adopted by Resolution 21-01. I see that we have a quorum. 6. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to open the meeting. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Okay. A little rundown on how we conduct our meetings. I will read into the record the application, and then we will ask the staff for their report. Members of the Planning and Zoning Commission may or may not have questions for staff at that point in time. Then we'll have the applicant to come, ask the applicant to come forward and present the application and address any questions or concerns that members of the commission may have. Then we will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in regards to the application can come forward and speak. If you're going to speak, we ask that you fill out one of these cards. They're right here on the corner of the table. This ensures that we get your name correct in our minutes. Okay. As I stated, the rules of order and procedure that we adopted a couple years ago are in effect. We will give everyone the opportunity to speak who desires to speak. You're limited to 3 minutes. And once things get to be repetitious, we will ask that if you have something different or new to speak that we may have forgotten or not thought about, but once we get one or two people talk about traffic or talk about noise or talk about fatalities on 94, et cetera, we don't need 4 or 5 people to talk about that, okay? But we will give everybody an opportunity to speak. And when you do come to speak, these hearings are a matter of record, so I will have to swear you in, and you swear or affirm that you will be telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings. So if you're going to make a statement, you can say, "This is my opinion." If you state something as a fact, you're under oath. We may ask you how do you substantiate that fact, okay? But you can, feel free to express your opinion as to the application. So the first application on our agenda this evening is conditional use permit located at 2440 South Highway 94. Application number is CUP 23-22. Property owners are Joseph A. Coaster and Craig A. Daly. The applicants are Joseph A. Coaster and Craig A. Daly. The current zoning is A Agricultural District. The conditional use request is building structures or open spaces for conducting weddings and/or wedding receptions or other private parties. The parcel area is 6.22 acres. The location is located on the southeast corner of the intersection of Highway Double D and South Highway 94. This is located in Council District 2. Staff.
As you stated, the conditional use permit application is for building structures or open spaces for conducting weddings and/or wedding receptions and other private parties. The tract, as you mentioned, is 6 acres. It's on the southeast corner of Highway DD and 94, just generally speaking in the unincorporated Defiance area. And it's a triangular parcel. Again, it's about 6 acres. To the north of this, on the north side of 94, there's a quarry. It's the Defiance Quarry. It's about, I can't remember if it's 200 or 300 acres, but that's about the size. On the west side of Highway 94, there's been hayfields, there's agriculture uses. Bordering this property to the east is Ridge Creek Estates subdivision. And then just to the southwest of this, at the corner of about 600 feet, I believe, at the corner of Highway F and 94, there's a triangular shaped parcel that you may remember a few months ago. The property owners came and applied for commercial zoning at that time. So since that meeting, the county council has rezoned that to C1 neighborhood commercial district for that triangular shaped parcel. It's about 1.5 acres on the highway, corner of Highway F and 94. So the proposal is to hold private events inside an event hall of about 3,500 square feet, and it's labeled the main hall on the concept plan. They show a parking lot to serve the people in attendance. And you may recall that a similar proposal was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2021. This differs from that a little bit. By the way, the applicant at that time withdrew their application at a certain point, so it never was acted upon by the county council. But what's before you today is a little bit different in that the events are a little bit different, and they've moved the parking lots a little further away from the residential property line, and the event space is a little bit smaller. And those are some of the main differences. So the events they're proposing, I would categorize them in 2 different categories. First are private events conducted by others, and then there's social events to be conducted by the applicant. Now, in the packet, you'll see that it's characterized what these social events are. I kind of describe it as like a private German-American cultural society, and with all sorts of events that serve that end. That's kind of the way I think of it. I would say that when the memo was written, let me see the date of the memo here. On October 11th, at that time, we hadn't nailed down with the applicant that the social events were going to be conducted as private events, but since that time, they've submitted a statement in writing indicating that that's the case, that they would be private events and not open to the general public, so to speak. So that's been helpful in terms of the consideration for the proposal. I mentioned what the land uses are. The Ridge Creek Estates subdivision, I would say There are 3 lots that back up to this property. If I'm not mistaken, there's houses on 2 of the 3 lots. There's 1 lot, I believe it's still vacant. And in their staff report, it provides the distances from the homes to the main hall and from the homes to the parking lots, so you can get a sense of how close they are. The driveway entrance to the property, you may remember this is a curve of 94. I remember this property because there used to be a barn there and it blew down a few years ago. I just remember that as a landmark. There was a barn on the property for a long time in Hayfield. But that barn has been gone for several years. But you'll remember that it's right there on the curve. So MoDOT will be very interested in access to this property, make sure that it would be safe. And the applicant's engineer, Bax Engineering, has proposed what I would call a 3/4 access entrance, driveway entrance onto the property, such that motorists would not be able to turn left onto Highway 94 because there's that big sweep back this way, so they wouldn't necessarily have good line of sight, trying to turn left. I think that's the way it would work. But no matter what, they're going to have to get MoDOT's approval for whatever entrance they have and whatever configuration they have. The parking lot would provide spaces for 70 vehicles, which would be sufficient for the minimum number of vehicles they would need. But even if they need a little bit more, there's plenty of room that they could add to that a little bit if they needed to. There's a public water line that exists out front, which is helpful because when they get to the building permit stage, I'm not the building permit expert, but they may or may not have to provide fire suppression, and if they would, then the public water supply would be helpful in that regard. But it would use an on-site sewage treatment system. They're showing a drainage field out towards the southwestern part of the parcel. As with all conditional use permits, there's specific criteria that are to be used in analyzing whether or not the conditional use would, for instance, injure the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. Would it injure the aesthetic and/or scenic values of the vicinity? Would it substantially diminish or impair property values? Or would it impede the normal and orderly development improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the zoning district? The county staff analysis is in your memo, and I'm not going to repeat it here again. But given that we have received clarification about how the events would be conducted, county staff is recommending approval with specific conditions, 9 conditions to address anticipated land use impacts, including specifically recognizing that there's 2 homes in Ridge Creek Estate subdivision that are fairly close to this main hall. I would say that all the events they're proposing would be indoors or underneath one of the awnings that's attached to the building, unlike some of the other CUP applications we've had for special events.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings from the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Brad Goss, 120 South Central, Suite 700, St. Louis, Missouri, 63124.
Go ahead.
And, Mr. Chairman, I would like to have the applicant come up and be sworn in
Okay.
at this time, because I'm going to quickly turn over to him the description of what's going to take place. He's the best person to address that.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Joseph Kester, 2440 South Highway 94, Defiance 63341.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I want to do is just go through our presentation with you tonight and just, first of all, orient you to the site. This is an aerial photo of the site that's showing our site is abuts Highway 94 on the north and Highway 94 also on the west. It's a triangular shaped piece of ground, and this close-up shows it a little more so you can see it better. You can see the quarry immediately to the north. That's that lake and that rocky area. There's the Ridge Creek Estates is to the east, and you'll see one of the lots is not built on, two of the lots are built on. Has it built out now? Okay. I stand corrected. The third one is now built out. Obviously, the county needs to get those maps updated. Just kidding. And then across the way, there's agricultural uses, and then as the staff had stated, recently there was the commercial zoning allowed for the meat market that's about 600 yards away. So this photo is showing you the site and showing you the trees that are along that buffer line with the residential subdivision. It's an established tree line. It will not be disturbed. It's going to remain in place. There are some gaps in the tree line up toward the north end of the tree line. And so what we did with our landscape plan is we specifically provided for filling in those areas. And so that's something we're going to give careful attention to. And we'll get to the landscape plan. It's conceptual, but we'll get to that a little bit later. That's been designed by Randy Martis. He's a landscape architect. I think his landscape number is like 16 in the state. He's been around forever. And so that's who we've used to design the landscaping plan. The surrounding zoning is agricultural, provided there are a series of conditional use permits. They're allowing more intensive uses around us, most particularly the quarry, which is to the north. There is the Defiance Ridge Vineyards, which is to the south. The meat market, which is immediately to the southwest. And then there's also a kennel immediately to the west. So those are all commercial uses, which are to our west, north, or southwest, and are our neighbors to us. I'd like to turn it over to Joe Custer to talk about the inspiration for the site, what he plans to do, the private event space, and with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So years ago, many years ago, I went to Germany, did schooling in Germany, trained in Germany, became a Brauer and Melzer, and I came back with a goal. I wanted to bring some of that. I fell in love with the culture and some of the things there, and I wanted to bring that back to my hometown. And when I came back, I originally wanted to do a brew pub somewhere, a house brewery. A lot of people at the time thought it was like, like kind of raucous, those things. I was seeing it through the eyes of someone who had seen it in Germany, where it's a nice communal place where people come. And I think those have turned into that. I've been teaching now for I'm going to be 30 years when I retire here in a few years. And as I got older, I'm like, I don't want to schlep 50-pound malt bags around and all that, so I kind of changed plans. But I really am engaged with the German community, German-American community, and the cultural aspects of the region. So when I moved there, I bought the land probably 14 or 15 years ago, built, and you'll see it's kind of like, it was supposed to be like a chalet-style home, a Bavarian Black Forest home, but at the time they wouldn't let me build a kit, so I had to build a barn kit. They had to build a stick build. So it wasn't exactly what the plan was. However, I was hoping to bring something that wasn't like a plastic home into the region. It's important for me for that kind of to fit into that cultural, in that area, And when I came back and I moved down there, I knew about the Missouri Weinstrasse, and I thought this is underutilized, right? This Missouri Weinstrasse really needs to be marketed more and utilized. I knew about Dutzau, right, and the Gottfried Duden. I knew about Hamburg, the community there. I knew about all these things that we have all these components. Well, I got involved with Sister Cities years ago, and again more recently, and with the German Ludwigsburg Sister City program. And we do exchanges with students. I've been taking kids to Germany for years now. And we also do adult exchanges. And the Sister City program, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it has brings in a lot of German cultural events. And these are some of the events that I want to do. It comes across as a wedding venue because it kind of has to for the zoning and I think to get a loan and those things, but it's really not my first goal is to just be a wedding event. I really want to utilize the barn to be a community space where we can do things such as, I don't know if you're familiar with Springerle cookies, they're a specialty. One of my board members is here, and we have gotten into doing this specialty cookie. And I do beer brewing, so I'd like to do courses on that. And I'd like to work together with the meat market to do some German cuisine, some dinners and things like that go beyond bratwurst and sauerkraut, things like Schopfnudel and some things that are specialty regional specialties. That's where my heart really is in that. I will have to have some way to make make money though too, as well. Those aren't going to be big money makers. I don't foresee that. I will be living on site, and so I won't want to have, of course, raucous things, and I won't want to have lights, floodlights. So I did bring my certification, if you wanted to, if you're interested in seeing it. It's from the Handelskammer, which is it's translates roughly as the Chamber of Commerce, but it's a 3-year program. It's the German government recognized brewer and maltster certification. And so I have a lot more plans than just a beer hall or wedding, raucous weddings and so forth. And I hope that I can kind of integrate that into the community and into the German Heritage Corridor that was approved by the state of Missouri.
If you want to talk about these images, go ahead.
I'm looking at a barn, using a barn, because I don't like the idea of something metal or cheap looking or vinyl or something. So I really want to fit into the region. I talked to the Historical Society a while back about trying to find a German style barn, and they gave me some pointers. So this is just a representation. The company that I'm looking into, Timberland out of Omaha, they can accommodate anything and build to whatever specs I give them. I'm hoping to make it look the part, like it fits into the region down there.
Thanks, Jim.
So Joseph, you say you're going to live there too?
I live there, and I intend to stay there on site. I want to be there so I can run. When I retire, I don't want to just retire. I'd like to become more active with this whole idea.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, his home is already on the site.
Yeah,
It's
I
on
know,
the,
but it
it's on the
doesn't-
southern part of the
That
site,
doesn't mean they're going to live there.
Yeah.
Right.
but he will, yeah. All right, so just to walk through the site plan, as the staff noted, we did move the parking area. You'll see that it's, previously it was up where the detention basin is shown in the northeastern part of the site, so we flipped that. We've moved that down so it's below the building location to get it as far away as we can from the residential neighborhood. The septic field is below that, so we can't move it further down because there is a slope and we've got to put the septic field in that area. So we've moved that as far as we can. We're also landscaping the area of the entrance. You can see those graded areas. That's landscaping that we're going to be adding to the site. On the east, we have a 50-foot setback that's required, and we're honoring that, of course, and leaving the tree line intact. We're not disturbing that, but we will be supplementing it with additional trees to fill in gaps that may exist between our property and the residential homes that are to the east of us. So the building, the main building, is 3,480 square feet, so roughly 3,500 square feet. It's not a big structure. It is smaller than the structure that we had proposed previously. And then you have next to that two kind of patio areas, if you will, on the east and the north, where guests can congregate prior to going into an event or something like that, or step outside and enjoy the air. And then, of course, as I said, the parking lot to the, that's to the southeast. Outdoor lighting is going to be mounted on the building and will all be downcast lighting. So there's not going to be any lighting cast off the site. That was one of the staff recommendations and conditions, and we certainly will abide by that. We also are limiting our hours of operation so that we'd be closing earlier in the evening. We're not going to be going to midnight or something like that, like I think a number of the wineries do with their facilities. The latest we'd be open would be till 11 o'clock. And we've also provided for any kind of music that would be stopping, as I recall, is like at 9:30, is that right? Or 10?
10:30, or 10
10
to 10:30
o'clock, I
on
think,
Saturday,
yeah.
and then 9:30 on the other
Right.
Sunday. And
So Sunday through Thursday would be 9:30, otherwise 10:30. The site distance and traffic that, we did a look at that issue. We looked at it 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, whenever we were here with that prior site. We met with MoDOT and talked to them about access onto 94. What they recommended or were requiring was that our entrance not allow left-hand turns out. So when you look at that entrance configuration, that area in the middle is actually a raised median, so cars physically just can't turn left. And that, so we will prevent those left-hand turning movements out. MoDOT was otherwise okay with our turning movements as far as right in, right out, and a left in. That was okay with MoDOT. We will be going back to them again, and whatever they require, we have to do. It's their road, they have jurisdiction, and so we will do what MoDOT requires as far as the site is concerned, as far as access. We did look at site distance, and you have two site distance diagrams there. The lower diagram, we have good site distance going westbound for 600 feet. We clearly meet all of MoDOT standards. There's no issue at all with that. Going eastbound toward is 94 curves. Then you have some restricted site, some restricted vision about 380 feet away. And so, we've shown where that, how good our site distance is. That's why MoDOT's saying, look, you can't have these left turns out. You've got to block those, and of course, that's what we're going to do because we can't do anything else. The entrance is located at the highest point on that curve. It's the proper location for the entrance, but we do have to restrict that access out, and we're going to do that. We did look at traffic counts on Highway 94 and trip generation counts both in 2020 and again in 2022. They're really pretty constant. It's around 900 to 1,000 cars one way in a day, and that's a highway. So, certainly the road has capacity as far as traffic is concerned to handle the traffic. We did look at accidents. We understand that, there's concern about that. I will tell you, when we contacted the highway department and got their accident records, they did not show accidents happening around our site. That's just their records, and I knew I was going to hear that. And I know that there are accidents that have happened there, so we're not denying that. I'm just telling you that what we found with MoDOT's records, and I think that's probably a product of who responds to the accident, is what I'm guessing. But in any case, we will take care of whatever we have to take care of with MoDOT. What we also did, because last time we were here, there was some concern about people using roads that would be, and they'd be confused by them. They'd be using double D, or they'd be using Highway F, and they'd get lost, or they wouldn't understand how to drive on a rural road. So I thought, well, how do I drive? I use Google. Okay, let's punch in Google from a bunch of different locations, and that's what this exhibit is showing you. If I went from St. Louis County, I'm going to get a Google route that's basically, it's running me on 94.
Ma'am, we'll have your turn. Quiet.
Please. Let's hear them.
Wait.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you're coming from the city of St. Charles, again, they're running you on Highway 94. Any of these routes, if you're coming from O'Fallon, They're running it through on Highway 94. So when you look at this exhibit, what it shows you is that all of them are on 40 and 94. They rank order them as what's the fastest, and then the next fastest, and the next fastest. There's only one of them that routes you on Highway 47 North, and that's the least, it's the slowest option, and that's coming from Washington, Missouri. So again, I did that because I thought, well, how are people going to get here? Well, that's probably how they're going to get here. They're going to put it into Google and say, what's my fastest way? So we believe that is the traffic pattern that people are going to use. So with respect to the landscape plan, we have provided for significant landscaping on the site. It exceeds what the county's requirements would be. As you see on this conceptual landscaping plan, we've provided substantial landscaping on our west as a buffer, also on our north, again, and then on the east, you can see we are filling in some areas. This landscape plan was based on the plan when the parking lot was located on the east, so we are going to revise it, and this will have to come back to you as a site plan because we have to get site plan approval. So we will update this. It's very expensive, and so rather than go through and revise this at this point, since all we have to have is a conceptual plan, we're showing you what we're going to do. It is substantial landscaping, and then we'll revise it according to the final plan that is approved. So the kind of landscaping that Randy's providing for, again, four-season color, four-season interest. On the site, you're going to have a mix of deciduous trees, evergreen trees, providing for, opaque kind of buffer. You're going to have flowering trees, so you'll have springtime interest, and then you have various kinds of shrubs as well, Syringia, purple lilac. You're going to have a lot of different color being provided on the site. And again, that's really what Randy Martis, that's kind of his hallmark for his landscaping plans. With respect to the requirements for the conditional use permit, we do believe that we address them. We don't think that our use is going to be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. And it's certainly this site and its use, its scale is small. It's certainly not going to be any more disruptive than the quarry, which is immediately to our north, nor the commercial meat market that's having customers come and go, on a daily basis. And the entrance design will meet MoDOT requirements. So we don't believe that we are going, and the hours are also going to be restricted, and our lighting will be, as I said, downcast. So we don't believe that there is going to be any endangerment to the public health, safety, or welfare. We don't believe that our use is going to be injurious to the use or enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity. And one of the reasons we believe that is because Mr. Custer is going to live on site. He is going to be monitoring this operation, and any impacts that happen from this operation, he's the first person that's going to receive them. So he was going to be very careful about that. This development is not going to change the physical nature of the site. You don't have somebody coming in and grading the 6 acres, changing the topography, and altering it in that regard. The building, as he stated, is going to be compatible with the area. The idea is to try and replicate some kind of German barn kind of design, which again is compatible with the wine country. And then we're going to add the landscaping buffer to shield the neighbors from the site. The third criteria is whether we are not to substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. If you look at the staff report, they note there's no evidence of that there's any impairment of property values. We agree with that. And we agree that that's true because the 3 houses that are to our east, we're buffering them substantially. So this site is not going to be visible, and we're limiting our events to private parties. This will not be a public facility. It's going to be a private invitation event that takes place. And the visual qualities are going to be compatible with the wine district, That's what we're doing. This is a gateway to the wine district, and we're trying to enhance that. And then the final criteria is that we not impede the normal and orderly development of the improvements in the surrounding area. Basically, there is pretty much, a lot of it's built out. You've got the quarry to the north. We're certainly not going to impede the quarry operation. The meat market to the southwest, it's already been approved. The kennel's already been approved. And the residential subdivision, I think there's maybe one site for a home to be built. Are they finished now? So all the homes are built. And so in terms of,
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sir? No. Sir, I'll have you removed. You'll have your turn.
So guys,
The most eastern one is.
respect for one another is key in these meetings,
Most eastern one is.
and you get an opportunity to speak.
well, go ahead and
So
say it.
please, wait until it's your turn, okay? Thank you.
So one of the homes that's that abuts us on the east, Andy Delahanty, he has submitted a letter in support of the project. So that's somebody who's most directly impacted. He said he supports the project. So he certainly believes that this is not going to be a negative impact on his property values. And I've noted that in our presentation. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions, as is Mr. Custer, that the commission may have.
Questions?
Yeah, I got a quick question. Now, how many staff do you anticipate having?
I expect that there would be, there won't be food really on site, you know, it won't be a kitchen and all that.
Okay.
So it'll mainly be perhaps 6 or fewer.
And, I mean, that's just a question, but you think 70 parking spots is enough for the 6 staff plus the 168, up to 168 guests?
I don't know, I was just relying on Bax Engineering to do.
Well, I think Bax probably just took I suspect they just took the number of parking required for the square footage of the size of the building. I mean, just a comment, I mean, it seems to me that you need more parking.
I need more parking.
Because I don't think we,
100 spaces.
yeah, I mean, so that's just, from an engineering perspective,
Yeah.
that's my comment. I think you need more parking, but.
Where are people going to turn around if they can't, if they need to go the opposite way? Where are they going to turn around at?
It would be well, the concept would be to have like a roundabout at the end of the parking area.
But if they have to turn left, I mean, they can't
They're
turn
talking
left.
at the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about for you to go home.
Yeah, if
On
I'm leaving here
94.
and I
Oh.
need to go left to go home, but I got to go right, where are they going to go turn around to go back the other way?
I don't know where they would turn around to go.
It seems to me they would turn around in the private subdivision that right next door.
Yeah.
And I think that's gonna be a problem. Did you guys look at an option to go out on the other side of the curve? So if you had a left-hand turn, you can go to the other side?
Actually, I was going to bring up that I have a driveway at the other end, that I have a road that goes down the hill that I use all the time to get to the field, and that could become, it would go past the house, but I'm okay with that, if that would be allowed. And then they would come up and be at the other side of the property, and they could make a right safely onto 94.
I was just
Yeah, that would be up to
sharing
you.
the same concern.
Yeah, where are they gonna
I-
turn?
I know your friends in Defiance, they're all gonna go to the left, probably me included, and we're gonna have a traffic problem.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna take a right, and I'm gonna go a half a mile, and I'm gonna pull in a
Somebody's
private
driveway.
road or private driveway that I don't pay to take care of, the
Right.
residents of the subdivision do. So,
What they're probably gonna do is they're gonna make a left at
Yeah.
that right out.
absolutely.
That's what they.
And we're
that's
not
what-
solving any traffic problems then. We're making MoDOT have their approval, but we're causing some issues, I feel
Yeah,
like.
I could definitely run the road to my property. I already do that now. I drive my vehicle and tractor
Can
down
you
that road.
pull up the site plan and show where that would be and how that would,
Sure, let me get back to that.
yeah, right there. Where would you
Think any
propose
of
another?
His house is the very bottom.
Very bottom.
Yeah, so right here, I currently go down,
We can't see what you're doing.
Go ahead and point
so-
to that.
Here, take the microphone, please. Turn it on. Yeah.
If you look at this section right here, there's one of the maps. He's down here.
so I actually have a road that runs down through here and goes up. It actually, the road comes and cuts this way. I can easily take the road on up to this parking lot space.
So we're fine with
Yeah, that, I mean,
And come to this, my own parking lot, driveway.
Yeah, I
I
think
have-
that needs to be reflected on the site plan.
Yeah, we can do that. We can, this, as I said, this is a concept plan. We can come back and change that because we'll be back in front of you with a site plan. So if that's
So
something. the
MoDOT
commission-
would have to approve that.
Correct, they will. But we understand the concern and we understand you
Your site
concerned about
distance would
the.
work there a lot better, I would think.
I would think it would too, but what we did was we took the entrance where it has been historically and said, okay, well, that's where it logically needs to be, but we're happy to look at that.
If I'm coming south, I'm going to be making a left-hand turn in.
Correct.
So what's on this plan now, with this car's turning, having to turn left to head back toward Welland Spring, or turn right, rather.
Right, yeah.
It'd be a right
Then
out.
right at that same place, I'm turning to the left to turn in.
Correct.
On the current entrance configuration, well, you'll go around in, because,
Yeah, I'm on the other side of your monument.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the way that's set up, that's the way MoDOT was directing us to set up, but we'll pursue the other access, if that's the commission's direction.
Yeah, I just think turning right out of there is a problem. I mean, it's a problem road. I mean, I've been down enough times to know, but, you know, I know MoDOT, you're gonna have to do what MoDOT tells you to do anyway.
So we're comfortable, if that's a condition of the commission, with pursuing it in that manner.
So is MoDOT actually telling you not to turn left out of there?
Yes,
They are?
that was their direction. The reason was, if you recall the two site distance diagrams I gave you,
Yeah.
the one, when you're going to the west, that distance is like, as I remember, 380 feet. It's not 600 feet. And so they're saying, somebody coming around that curve
Yeah, they're gonna be.
isn't going to be visible as long as their requirements are. They want somebody to be visible for 600 feet, which is fine looking to the east. Our problem is looking to the west. And so they said, well, the solution is you don't let anybody turn left out of there. And it's like, okay, fine, we'll
Good.
do that. But
Could I add something? I wasn't happy with that solution either, the no left, because the cars that come around that corner, they have to slow down significantly on that inside curve, and then they have to pull a hill. So it's not as if they're coming down a hill at a rapid speed there. It's the other direction where cars fly by. I've lived there for going on 14 years, and except for that motorcycle that passed on that corner, the accidents are almost exclusively overshooting westbound and hitting the embankment there because of high speed. No one's ever come into the field or wrecked into my property, anything like that in all the years.
I think you're gonna have to try to push it down more by your house.
yeah, we're comfortable doing that.
Because even this one, my concern is even if you add another entrance and you keep that one there with no left turn, people are still gonna turn left.
Right, and we won't keep it. What I've heard you say is you don't want that entrance, and we won't.
Yeah.
We'll go to MoDOT and pursue the other access point, which, that's how he gets in and out, so.
And I would revisit the parking count too.
Yeah.
We'll look at
Change
that,
that,
and again, we're coming back with a site plan, so we'll certainly look at that and adjust that.
And then hours of operation, I'm not clear what you said your hours were gonna be, because what we have in our conditions is different than I think what you said.
I think I think the difference was Sunday would be earlier closing time and earlier stopping of music. And then Saturday would be a little later, till 10:30 would be the music, and everybody would be out by 11 o'clock.
That's what we're proposing.
Yeah, our conditions they're dark from 11
Yeah.
PM to 8 AM, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no outdoor music.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. That was a condition.
No amplified outdoor music. I mean, could be acoustic guitar or zithers or whatever, like that.
Right, that was a condition that the staff added, and we're comfortable with that. So it wasn't something we put in our presentation. We saw the staff comment, so that's fine.
No, I saw where you were, since there'll be no kitchen, what you just noted here is food trucks. So if I'm having a wedding, and I have my caterer, what will you be doing for the serving of alcohol? Will you have a license, or will they have to depend on the liquor license of the caterer, or what?
I would hold the license. That was the advice of the insurance company that I spoke with, that I would hold beer and wine license for the site, so that I could control so people wouldn't bring private things there. And then you have, I guess, a legal question is what I was told about when you can cut them off or stop them or anything like that. But if you have the license, then it's your prerogative.
Right, and it would only be beer and wine, but that is why he wants to have the license, so he can control and cut people off if that is necessary.
And then my other question is about these being private events not open to the general public, but not being in German, but some of the events you have listed were
Festival-like.
festival-like. How are you,
Which ones in particular were festival-like?
I don't, well, that's,
So
I can't
it
find
gives
it.
focus on various such as, the music events, the word music events
Yeah.
denotes public types of things, or gives the opinion there by local choirs.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to do that. Either you just have events, or you're gonna sell tickets, or people are gonna rent out your space to hold their own events that are gonna be private German events. I mean, there's ways to get around that, 3 ways to skin a cat and more. So that's kind of the concern.
Yeah, the concept, the idea there would be, we had a zither concert with our sister city out of Washington, Missouri, and they brought over, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, they brought zither players from Germany? Yes. And they went around and played at different locations. There's a Männerchor, the men's choir, that came over, and I host someone from Ludwigsburg, and then we take them to different locations, and we're always looking for a venue where we can do those kind of things. I don't perceive this being like a rock band or anything like that.
But that doesn't answer the question.
Okay.
That's still a public event. Are you going to sell tickets or only invite your friends?
Oh,
Or
no,
they-
I'm sorry, sell tickets for the event, yeah. Through our channels of like the different German organizations, German-American
So
organizations.
then that's,
So it is open to the public.
yeah, so that it's, yeah, that's not the so if I'm getting married, I rent the space, I have my friends and family, I'm the person that rented that space. If I'm the choir group and I bring my people with me, that's a private event. But if I'm selling tickets to the general public to see something, that is a public event.
Yeah, I think about like the brewing classes. If I wanted to go to a brewing class,
Right.
I could sign up for it.
Yeah.
That's to me open to the
Public
public. And I don't know how you can try to keep this on a small scale to appease the traffic, the residents nearby, but yet have it open to tickets. Because we also don't have a limit in here of, hey, the space is open to maximum 150 people or something along those lines in the CUP. So I'm just curious if we should put something like that in there to make sure we don't have too big of a event, if they have an event of that nature. So,
So to make sure I understand, to expressly cap the maximum number of people at an event, is that what you're suggesting?
I'm saying that this is public events as well as private events. Now, it says wedding and event venue, so what we're asking for is clarification. It's not just private events, it's public events as well. It's just an event space, period.
They're
It can be
not,
rented out, public can come,
no.
so how do you
If somebody
figure?
shows up and they don't have the invitation, it'd be like a wedding crasher. You're gonna say, you're not welcome. And so part of the reason that.
So you're gonna know all the people that are invited?
Well, you're going to want a ticket
Yeah.
from them, and the reason you want the ticket is so you can say, you don't have a ticket, please leave. I mean, that's why you want to have the ticket, in order to be able to control who's coming and who's not coming.
Who are you selling the tickets to?
We have, our sister city has websites that we use now to, like, we get in touch with the Schuhplattler of St. Louis and different groups all around the region. And so it would mainly be those groups that would be interested in coming to those kind of events.
Right. But it's to the public at large.
The thrust is
And not
to,
that that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing in and of itself. It's just, it's not a private event space from the standpoint of, it's not just, my family reunion is here, my class reunion is here, my baby shower, my wedding. They are events for the public as well. Through tickets, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's just, that's what it is.
okay. We're certainly. open-
Controlled, it's not like you don't know. So you're not gonna have an event where you don't know if there's 50 people or 400 people.
Right.
You know you sold 120 tickets, so you know 120 people are who's coming. So
Right.
it's a controlled public event, it's not just a free-for-all. So but it's a public event.
Okay, and I don't want to, I would call that private because you can't come unless I invited you, but I don't want to have a semantic argument. I
No.
mean, it will be, we will control it.
Yeah,
And that
it's
is
a- it's a-
important. And
yeah,
so,
it's
to the extent
controlled.
that the commission wants to, you want us to expressly state, there's no more than this many people at an event, we certainly can do that because that's the whole point of this. We've said how many spaces, or I think you've said a maximum 168, wasn't it?
168 was my idea because of, and with the Sister City program, we've done these trivia nights, and to make a profit, we typically want to get like 20 tables of 8, and then we need a table of 8 that would work the event to make it worthwhile. That's the rationale behind that number.
Okay, any other questions of the applicants?
I guess I don't see that, the types of things he's wanting to do, I don't think you're gonna have a bunch of degenerates coming in and, who wanna listen to polka music going nuts in the subdivision and doing donuts in the field. I don't think that. I think it's noise levels, it's, that kind of stuff. But we'll hear from the public at large.
Could I add something?
Sure, sure.
I'm hypersensitive to noise because I live right on the front lines. I know some of my neighbors will say, they have some bad events with motorcycle noise and all, but I'm right there. And there are times when I'm sitting outside, can't speak for a matter of a minute or so because the trucks and motorcycles are so blazingly loud there. I have people stop currently on my property all the time. Just this past weekend, a lady urinating in the field. I've had people do donuts where the barn once stood before that tree fell that I left there to keep
I
people
don't think you're helping yourself right now.
out of that. Well, I'm just saying though, I'm already having people
Yeah.
like take advantage of my property. I have none of the benefit of anything of living where I bought and hope to do this for a cultural thing. But if I do put something there, I can gate that off. I can keep those people from coming in to my property and defecating and urinating and all those
Right,
things.
so again, that's part of the control. By virtue of having something here where you're having event space, you're able to control the entrance. We're putting it down next to his house as opposed to up where we were gonna put it, which means it's even more controlled. And if people are coming by and, doing things that they don't like, he's gonna stop it. I mean, he lives there.
Yeah, no, him living there is fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying he wasn't helping himself.
Well, yeah, I
All
get
the
it,
bad
yeah.
stuff going on.
I'm sorry, I was trying to lead to the point
Yeah, I
where I'd
understand.
like to close it
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
where I can prevent those things, right? from happening.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anything else from the applicant?
No.
Okay. We will now open the public hearing for CUP 23-22, which is a conditional use permit located at 2440 South Highway 94. Anyone wishing to speak?
But aren't we in Lederhosen?
Oh, yeah.
We'll be in Lederhosen on Sunday. Is that right?
Nope. Right up here, yeah, okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly,
It's all choked up.
yeah, well, I don't have any, I didn't bring any water with me. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Matt Pieper. I live at 41 Matt's Way. It's not named after me. But,
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
so I have quickly one comment, just an opinion, and then secondly, a question for them. So in general, I like the idea of people being able to use their property for whatever they want to do. I have really, the idea he has is great. I think that the idea of everybody starting to buy up residential agricultural land for the purpose of coming to this committee and saying like, hey, give me a special circumstance, puts the county at a little bit of jeopardy of losing trust for those people who are like me, who live there and don't want a beer hall and a concert hall right in our backyard. I mean, their property, I think, is about, 35 yards from ours. And I think, well, ultimately, I think that the people who are choosing to live in this county or build in this county deserve a little more trust than saying like, hey, yeah, there's no reliability on what's going to be built next to your house if somebody comes before and just keeps getting special exemptions. My question is, have they gone before the Department of Natural, I'm sorry, have they gone before the Department of Natural Resources to talk about management of sewer? Because I called the Department of Natural Resources today. They said that there has not been any, they have not reached out to them to talk about the fact that they're going to put a septic system that's now going to handle up to 168 people. That septic system will drain into a creek that goes through my yard, and then 200 yards downstream goes into the Femi Osage Creek, which is a navigable waterway. So the Department of Natural Resources, Missouri, has assured me that they're going to look into this because that's under their purview to make sure that this septic doesn't go in there. If I wanted to build another dwelling on my property of 5 acres, I'm sure I would not get approval based on septic, right?
I don't know that. Yeah.
So they're going to now build a building that's going to handle 168 people that are all using that bathroom that day. And we all know how septic works. Like when you get a huge volume of fluid going into it, it doesn't handle it well, and it's all going to dump into the creek.
Yeah, they're gonna have to build something.
The county
specific for it.
requires the septic to be designed by an engineer, so, I mean, just like your septic for your house was designed for residential, the septic system for this will be designed for this type of use, so.
I guess
that's
my
part of the
question is
county
how,
permit.
why can you take a residential property of 6 acres that you would not be allowed to build a second home on, but now you can build a commercial?
Well, that's not true. You'd be able to build a second home.
Yeah,
You'd
good.
you'd have to get a conditional use to
Yeah.
do it, just like this guy is. Yeah, you could still do it.
We've done that.
We've
Yeah.
done it before. We've allowed it, sure.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just a little concerned at
That's okay.
168
Yeah, good
people
questions,
using,
though.
Yeah.
Good
using
question.
that septic system that's going to run right through my yard.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Fred Cross, 420 Matt's Way, Ridge Creek Estates subdivision.
Go ahead, sir.
If you would be kind enough to answer a question for me about this 3-minute limit. The opposition has had all the time they wanted to present their case. I spent the last 2.5 days nonstop working on a thoughtful, meaningful presentation to make to you people tonight, and I cannot make it in 3 minutes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. As I've already stated my name, I would like to add that I'm 84 years old. I've lived at Ridge Creek 23 years. We moved there to escape the traffic and the noise for a quiet, peaceful life in retirement. And now we face an invasion of our values, of our property, of the very things that we enjoy. I'm going to try to cut this short because you've been kind enough to extend. I'm not going to tell you about we have 21 homes in Ridge Creek. We're a small subdivision. We have doctors, dentists, attorneys, financial people, retired business people. I am a retired businessman. I am not opposed to business, but I think there needs to be some separation between business areas and residential areas. We were there first. Maybe I can shorten this whole thing for us. The conditional use permit number 23-22 contains many critical errors. One of them tonight was brought up about this lot 12. In your paperwork, it says that's an uncompleted residential lot. That is not correct. That house was built, it's occupied, it's been occupied for months. It's earlier this year. So that's one error. Two errors. Describes the property around the vicinity as Ridge Crest Estates subdivision. In the same paragraph, it again refers to Ridge Crest Estates. We are Ridge Creek Estates. These are not typographical errors, but they're factual errors that cannot be dismissed. Factual errors make it impossible for this commission and for the county council to reach the correct decision. Now, we were just told tonight that we were corrected about this Lot 12 business. You can't just bring it up before the meeting and say, oh, we fixed that, it's corrected. The paperwork that we were given to study to base our work on was wrong. Now, therefore, we respectfully request this commission to invalidate and reject this CUP 23-22.
Keep going, Fred.
You want the full presentation? This was Plan B. A, do you want Plan B?
Keep going, Fred.
Thank you.
Until we tell you to stop. Hey, Fred, don't get angry at us. Just go ahead and present, please.
Smile.
Yeah, it's okay. We want to hear from you. We really want to hear from you. We do.
Well, I appreciate that because I think the residential folks should have some say.
Absolutely, and that's why you're here. So go ahead.
All right. In mentioning all these folks that live at Ridge Creek Estates and their practices, I want you to understand that we're not just a bunch of people over there with no organization and we have professional people. We have the means and the motive to defeat this challenge no matter what it takes. We're dedicated to this. I think, never mind what I think. I think the whole idea is frivolous. Now, I'm not rambling on here. I'm trying to follow the staff recommendation in order so that everybody can follow along. Frankly, the order is not very good. It doesn't make much sense, but that's what we were given. Weddings. Why do we need another venue for weddings? We have churches, we have wineries, people get married at Klondike Park. If they're in a hurry, they jump a plane to Las Vegas. So you can get married very easily anywhere without this new venue. Where's the need? Are these going to be weddings that other venues reject or will not cooperate with? I don't know. Wedding receptions can be rowdy affairs with loud music and alcohol, and I didn't have to tell you that, and I'm not going to repeat what others have said. This matter of hay production, that the present use is for hay production. Sir, ma'am, I invite you to come down there and take a look. There's no hay. It's weeds. 4 and 5 foot tall weeds that have grown through the fence and pull the fence down. The place is in a miserable state of maintenance. It's an eyesore. It's a disgrace to the county. And people going through there and back there to the wineries every day, just before you get to the curve, they look over there and see that. We love the old red barn. It fell down due to neglect. It fell down on a perfectly clear day. There was no wind, there was no rain, there was no snow. It just fell down because it was not maintained. That's typical of the whole operation. Now, if they get this permit and this fancy pavilion and all that, who's going to maintain that? In another one of these things, I don't want to read that whole thing to you, but your staff says it would have a negative impact on the residences. And it'll take me a while to find that, but if you have your copy, I'd invite you to
It's on
read
the
that.
comments.
Negative impact from your own staff. The stormwater runoff detention basin. We have our own mosquitoes, thank you. We don't need to import mosquitoes. and they're bad. Now, under proposed events, the fifth one down is the most egregious one. It talks about fruit chopping. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's some big fruit chopping. That's the most outrageous one. Sunday mornings with wine and jazz music. Just what the neighborhood needs on a Sunday morning. There goes our quiet Sunday mornings walking the dog for wine and jazz music. I don't want to go too far on this intersection, but at least your staff recognize the dangerous intersection and requires approval from MoDOT. That's fine, we've been there. Now, folks, I'm 84 years old. I've had a little experience in this world. I've run a couple of businesses. We could all stand around here and jaw each other, but let's just be realistical, practical thinking folks. You cannot put 168 people, 70 cars, no money, maybe some dogs, I don't know, on alcohol and music on 6 acres and not disturb residents in Ridge Creek Estates 110 feet away. We have homes in our subdivision that are on more than 6 acres. Single-family homes on more than 6 acres. And now you want to cram 168 and 70 and alcohol and all this business on 6 acres. It's simply not practical. Simply not. The best use of this property is to cut the weeds, fix the fence, clean up the premises, and return it to the meadow that it once was, and not an eyesore. And we do miss the old red barn. Thank you for hearing my plea. Good evening, and God bless America.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tracy Pieper, 481 Matt's Way.
Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
Thank you for bringing up the meat market, because you might recognize me, I spoke at that. Not you guys, but when it was passed by the county, part of the argument on their behalf was that it wouldn't produce any additional traffic to the area, or noise. I think the whole noise argument has been obviously made, but now we're talking about food trucks. Their generators are super loud. I mean, music. Are we gonna allow fireworks like Defiance Ridge gives as an option for weddings? So as a crow flies, Defiance Ridge is 3/4 of a mile from our house, and at 9:30, with our windows shut, while we're inside, we can hear the music and fireworks going off at Defiance Ridge Winery.
Are those indoor or outdoor?
I'm sorry?
Are those outdoor events? The music?
Well, the fireworks would be.
Well, yeah, of
The
course.
music, I'm not, no. Well, they have that big covered porch area.
Right.
With like plastic windows.
Outdoors, yeah, it's outdoors. That's why you're here.
Well, they have an outdoor stage.
Sure. I
But they
understand.
have it, that whole
But Tracy,
hall is
we're limiting
indoor.
them to indoors. just so
I'm
you know.
sorry?
We're limiting them to indoors.
Well, I'm saying Defiance Ridge has an indoor wedding facility.
Yeah, but you're not hearing the indoor stuff, are you? Are you saying you're hearing indoor music?
I hear music, I mean, are they having
Okay.
outdoor weddings in the winter? Because I hear it then too.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know.
Indoor space, you can open the sides.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I'm
but this
sure-
is, you know,
I'm just letting you know, this is
okay.
an indoor-only music, so we're trying to
The-
limit that exposure. And then
So-
let me ask you about the meat market. Is there traffic problems now?
no, it doesn't even exist yet. I'm saying
Okay.
that was the argument for that.
Right.
But this is obviously going to cause a lot bigger of an issue
Sure.
as far as noise
Absolutely.
and added traffic.
doubt.
And as far as accidents, you know, the back of our house faces like where F hits 94. And, you know, so we, you know, I am under oath, I'm not making this up. We have heard car accidents, and my husband is a trauma surgeon, so he reacts and goes to check on people when he hears accidents. And I can count on one hand how many times in the last couple of years we've gone and other cars weren't involved. They don't want the authorities called because they've been drinking and they're driving and they've crashed into signs and stuff. He checks on them, they call their buddy, they come get picked up and they're gone. Those aren't gonna be on any reports. And so the argument for, you know, like the exiting, thank you for bringing it up, like pulling into our subdivision. We recently, within the last 6 months, added a sign saying, you know, public drive, because we have so many people coming in who don't belong there.
Private drive.
Private drive, what did I say?
You said public.
Yes, sorry. So, you know, we're already fighting this issue of people coming into our subdivision on the private streets, and now it's gonna just be that much worse. So, I think that's about all that I wanted to talk about, but anyway, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings from the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Elizabeth Bland, 441 Matts Way, Defiance, Missouri, 63341.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm going to start with, I think based on what they've just said, this is all a moot point, because the conditional use permit is for weddings, receptions, and private parties, not public. And via the fact that many of these events will have public invitations, people are buying tickets, it is a public event, and they've readily admitted that. I think that right there is enough reason to vote no for this, and I'm pretty sure public events, the reason that can't be under this conditional use is I think that goes to an event space that requires commercial zoning. The other point I want to bring up is there is already a primary residence on this. The county code requires for auxiliary structures on a property of 5 to 10 acres that it's not more than aggregate of 4,800 square feet for full structure size. This full structure is actually, when you look at the overhang of the roof on the covered patio, is actually about 5,600 square feet. So they're already over that 4,800 square feet, plus they have a 1,600 square foot pole barn on site. I've had some conversations with staff about this because when you read the code, there is no exception that says once you get conditional use, it's not auxiliary structure. And when I've talked to staff, they said, well, this is our interpretation. Well, reading through various codes and other bylaws of other counties and E-code and all that, you can't have two primary structures on a property. It just doesn't work. There is already a primary structure on this property, which is their single-family residential home. So adding up what's on there already plus this, they're at 7,200 square feet, if my math is right. It's not always right, but that's well above the 4,800 feet that's allowed for auxiliary structures on a 5 to 10 acre parcel in the county. We've already talked about stuff doesn't fall. This property is obviously, it's right behind me. I abut to it. When they're showing the pictures of the trees, those are my trees. If I choose to clear my trees, which I should have the right to do on my property, I'm gonna have full visibility into this. Not to mention, the pictures didn't depict the fall and the winter when all those leaves are down. We have direct sight. And most of our homes sit up considerably higher. There's no way that we are not going to see this once the trees fall. I don't think there's any way they can get any type of blockage or anything like that, that we're not gonna see it. There were also commentary that this is not gonna depreciate values. I've done commercial and residential lending all my life. I've reviewed appraisals, tons of them. A residential appraisal is going to see a decrease in value when you have a business in a nearby proximity. It will have impacts on our value. Not to mention the noise, anybody that comes to buy your house and sees this right behind you, it will have impact on the values of our homes. There's just no way around that. It's already been said, but the current owners, they do not maintain that property. They have a chicken coop that's way less than 150 feet away from the property line. That old barn went to a point of being dilapidated, became a hazard, and fell down. The grasses that grow there, it's not a well-maintained property. I talked about the creek, I'm trying not to do anything else. There's plenty of other properties out there. You know, I hate to say it, but this is 6 acres. It's 5 acres for one home, and now you're going to, this is not going to keep the beautiful openness that we've all moved to the area for. We talked about the U-turns. Let's see, anything else that I have? And I know they said no unamplified noise outside, but if you put 170 people outside, the voices that you're going to hear in our properties, and this is all going to be during the times that we're enjoying our homes. We're out on our decks and our pools. The other day, in fact, our neighbor, who is friends with Joe's brother, happened to be over there talking, and when Frank was at our house the next day, I was like, Frank, were you at the guys? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, I could hear you through the woods. So if I can hear just one voice and distinguish whose voice it is through the woods, imagine what we're going to hear with 168 or 170 people outside. Another thing is there going to be, if they do get this and there's the retention pond, is there going to be fencing around this? It's a quick Google search to see how many children a year die from drowning in retention ponds. You're backed up to a residential area, there's small children. We'd like to see something around the retention pond. Again, we hope that the county will listen to us on this. Oh, the other thing, he's talked about the brewing and the beer facility. A brew hall requires 40 acres. A brew house requires 40 acres. We highly suspect this is a way to get around that. And they've talked about the brewing classes. This to us sounds like a way to do the brew house on a 6-acre parcel. So, did I miss anything? That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi.
Hi. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Deborah Lammers, 1712 Foxglove Drive, St. Charles, Missouri, 63303.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
I just am amazed at how many people are concerned about Joe's one of the most accommodating people. You talk about needing more parking. He had more parking. He was told by someone that that was too much parking, so he tried to make it smaller parking. There's so many things that he's had thrown at him, and he said, I'll change that, I'll change that, I'll accommodate you, come talk to me, let's have a meeting, invite me to your meeting, come to my home. Nobody wants to do that. They want to move next to a state highway, you know, and have their pools and their parties and their loud parties and their dogs barking, and, you know, you can cut down your trees. They've already mentioned the landscaping. The barn fell because I don't know how old it was, but it was literally dilapidated. Basically, they looked into trying to get something done with it through the Historical Barn Society, and it was just, you know, outrageous at the time. So that was years ago, you know, that they were trying to do this, but it did fall. As far as not liking the meadow, it's for butterflies and bees and their pups to run and for people to come and sit and visit with them. What is one person's, you know, weeds is another person's wildflowers. He purposely mows a certain way for, you know, just to sit and play and have fun. Take some responsibility. You know, you move to this area and you say, we've got our 6 acres, we've got our house on 12 acres, we've got our big house. And then yet you want to stop somebody else from their dream. I mean, he has said, I'll keep it inside, I'll have extra insulation, I'll put a berm, I'll do, you know, I'll let him speak because I know he's probably really excited to get to the, as a condition of the property that they don't see fit for their area.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak? You go, you be back. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Hey, Arnie, you gotta say your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'll try and get this to come up.
They'll take care of it.
Arnie, AC, Dental. County Public Advocate.
You want to do it for him?
I'll do it for you, Arnie.
his P.O. box now?
Field box. Well,
There we go. Thank you very much, Commissioners. My name is Arnie C. AC Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. I want to first of all start out with some emails from some people who couldn't be here, and I think it's important to make it a matter of the public record.
They are part of the record.
They are.
Okay. I just want to
They're part of the record.
Did they send them just to you?
I have no idea who they
Okay,
sent
well,
it to.
we already have them.
They're all here.
Thanks.
I just want to,
Read them all.
I just want to insinuate a couple of the points that were in the emails. One email that came in on Friday, October 6th. Numerous traffic accidents happen here at 94 and Double D. The speed limit on 94 is 50 miles per hour with no stop sign on 94. Another one received on October 12th, 2023. Increased traffic at dangerous intersection at Highway 94 and Missouri Highway Double D. Increased noise close to residential neighborhoods, safety due to increased traffic. Another email received on October 16th, increased traffic hazards, noise pollution, surface water concerns. A small spring-fed creek runs through the subdivision to the Missouri River. On October 16th, another email, a no vote from the... I'm sorry?
We get all these, they're.
I'm just making a matter of the record,
They
so.
already matter of record.
A no vote,
wasting your 3
this
minutes.
property is directly on what is known as Dead Man's Curve by the locals. Another one says the structures, parking lot, cars, lighting will be eyesores for my property. I witnessed numerous vehicle accidents on 94 and Double D. October 10th, 2023, were opposed. And finally, on Wednesday, October 18th, an objection, noisy wedding venue just opposite, along with traffic concerns. So you come down to our 2023 county master plan, and it says agricultural district uses. There are a lot of questions, from staff's original recommendation. I guess they changed it as of today or tonight. But the definition of private party definition, limited public versus private, and celebrations, or as one commissioner brought up, festivals. That's of grave concern here. With only a 50-foot front yard setback, and I would imagine the other setbacks of our codified code are being met, which I think an agricultural district are at that or a little bit larger. Hours of operation are very sketchy here. I read the recommendation of the staff, but then I heard testimony from the applicant. And so he's saying, there's 8 o'clock, 9:30, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Those are some of the times that I heard coming up here. And we need insurances to the homes, especially on Matt's Way, Old Colony Road, Missouri Highway F. Sound, I'm pretty confident that there's going to be no outdoor amplification. And I want to see that there's a type 2 or a type 3 landscape barrier and buffer requirements between the separation of the agricultural CUP conditional use permit and the residential district. When it comes to parking, there's some severe concerns where they're only asking for, or they're in their preliminary plans, 70 spaces. I would recommend at least 120 spaces, plus in addition, they testified that they're going to have 6 to 8 staff members. And what about ADA, Americans with Disabilities requirements? I'd like to see crash reports from the Missouri Highway Patrol and our own county police department. They're going to put in a commercial driveway, but there's public safety concerns, sight distances, and I'd recommend to the commission that there be a condition of no left turn, right in and right out only. The detention basin, there should be no adverse runoff to adjoining property owners. And the sewer treatment plant system, I'm sure the Missouri Department of Natural Resources will be part of that. But what's really concerning is the county planning staff recommendation of denial. And that was originally, and now tonight, the director changed the stance on that recommendation. But the staff said is not conforming to the land use category under agricultural district zoning. And that's under section 405.510, subsection B of our county codified code. In addition, I would like the commission to consider the following conditions. That the first condition is that they limit, as I heard testimony from the applicant, 168 attendees. With the current parking situation of only 70 spots, I would recommend to the commission that you put on a limit as a condition number 1 of 125 people in attendance at any one event. I think that that's a fair compromise. The hours of operation, I think because it abuts a residential zone, I think we need to knock it off at 9:30, 9:45, and I would like to see that condition 7 days a week. Fireworks condition, we've heard in the past from the fire chief and various members of the New Melly Fire Protection District, they don't care for fireworks, and fireworks create a lot of fires in that area. So I'd like to see a condition that no fireworks be allowed. When it comes to parking, I think you need to set a condition for parking to be in alliance with the amount of attendees as I stated above. For those reasons, there's a lot of sketchy items. There's not some direct, concrete verifications and assurances to the adjoining residential neighborhoods. And for those reasons, I don't like sketchy. I don't like open-endedness. I don't like this leading to be for more issues and more conditional use permits that aren't permitted. For those reasons, I would ask this commission to deny this application in its current form. This is the second round. You would have thought that the applicants would have got it right since their go-around back in January and February of 2022. For those reasons, I ask you to vote against this application. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing for CUP 23-22. Ask the applicant to come forward.
You can ask after they're done, unless you need them to know.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to address of?
I certainly do.
Go ahead.
Do you want to speak first? Or do you want
No, I think you're
Okay.
ready to go.
First of all, that was a horse property originally, right? And so the fence is just a wire fence with like this white cap on it. I don't have horses. There are some places where it's fallen down. I've taken those off. It's a wire fence. I proposed at a meeting that I had with the neighborhood that we would actually do a better fence. We'd put a better fence back in its place. I don't want to invest in, this expensive fencing if I'm going to tie this into the project, is basically. The fence, the trees on the property, it's actually marked. There was a survey done for this, and on the back along Miss Bland's property, those belong to my property. It's 6 feet over the property line, and you can see that marked all the way down. I talked to Joe Brazel about setbacks, and he said where I was, it was a 0 lot line. I put a chicken coop there years ago. I intentionally don't mow the field. I cut pathways for the dog, and because I like to have the flowers, and I get black snakes and all kinds of birds and all kinds of wildlife there. I don't want a grass yard. I don't want to just have grass. Like, if they want to do that, they have that in their neighborhood. I don't want that. I chose not to do that on purpose. For the barn, I started to attend, when the property was purchased, that barn was already off the foundation. And I started to attend a brand new organization that was called Historic Barn Preservation of Missouri. And they said, we have the second largest number of barns that predate the Civil War. And I was really interested in saving the barn. It was very shortly thereafter, it just knelt down. He's right, on almost a clear day. It just, boom. The county gave me 2 weeks to clear the barn, and I did it. We did it. We complied. It was not a safety hazard if no one was trespassing, right? It was on my property, clearly on the property. The the voices, the reason I would, moving the property, the barn to begin with was up the hill, because that is a valley that goes through there that carries voice, that she's right. We can hear like people up at the top of the hill. We used to hear 20 Twist years ago. Where the people are located will be now, would be indoors, but it'll also be on top of that hill, not in that valley that acts kind of like a natural like sound carrier. I don't want fireworks. Again, I'm sensitive to that. I have picked up fireworks from their neighborhood. Like if they shoot reports and things and I go and pick up, they do a massive firework show over in that neighborhood. I've never complained. I've never called the cops. I've never done any of those things because I want to be neighborly. I'm trying to be neighborly and always. I do not want to do a brow house. In no way, shape, or form do I want to do a brewery. All right? That was in my younger days, like I said. That is way a young man's game, right? Schlepping those bags of malt and so forth. I proposed a berm originally that would block along the entire back, that would block any more noise and lights and all of those things. By the way, we have come up to whatever the county suggested, which was the higher level of landscaping. The creek is not spring fed. It's dry most of the time. It is a wet weather creek, just to point that out. A lot of these things are frustrating for me because I had a meeting with the neighborhood. They were all invited. People came. It was a very positive meeting. But then things got twisted and turned around, and we were addressing all of these, and it was ludicrous. It was stated that if I build a parking lot bigger, it's just too much. So I shrunk it down, and then the argument became they'll park in that neighborhood and walk across through the field. So there was nothing I could do. Any time I tried to address something, it was just swatted down. And so I'm sincere about my plans and what I want to do. I'm not trying to finagle. And frankly, it is frustrating that someone from out of state can do whatever they want, and the traffic's going to continue to get busier, but a local person who's a lifelong resident of this county is potentially denied. Thank you.
Okay, so.
Go ahead, Mr. Goss.
Thank you. So just to try and go through and address the comments as I heard them, I think the septic comment you folks addressed, it has to be designed by an engineer. Obviously, we have to go to DNR. We have to meet DNR's requirements. We will do that. So that's something that won't be an issue. I did go back through and look at the presentation, and it does say Ridge Creek Estates wherever it's mentioned. I misspoke, and I apologize for that. I also was incorrect about the one house that had been built. Happens to be that is actually Mr. Delahanty's house, and he's the one who wrote the letter in favor of the proposal. So, but I did stand corrected. I think the reason, the staff did point out concerns with the proposal, and that's why we're imposing the conditions. I mean, staff has 9 conditions, and those conditions are so that we address the concerns that they raised in their report, so that we won't have any events, amplified music outside. Everything it's an indoor kind of arrangement. The lighting, they address that. That's why staff came up with these conditions. We're going to comply with them, and we think that is responsive to the concerns. The access we talked about, we're going to move that and address that. I think that's important. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Can the septic field be moved back a bit where you could get more parking spaces?
Yeah, we're going to look at that because we're going to need to look at adjusting the parking, and so we will look at that. We also do have to work with the county on the location of the septic field, and we have to do tests with that. There's a whole permitting process that we have to go through with the county, and we understand that.
Okay.
And we will also have to design that septic to meet commercial conditions. Sure. So we will look at that, but that will come back with a site plan. And that site plan will need to be responsive to the conditions that are imposed as part of the conditional use permit.
Okay. Anyone have any further questions for the applicant?
Joseph, how much are you planning to spend on this? Do you have a budget for this?
I did put together a budget, yes. And it would be, right now, it's about $695 on that.
And you're going to pay for it yourself? Are you financing it?
Yeah, I'll finance it, yeah.
Are you planning to mortgage that property against that loan too?
Potentially. I will also be looking at investors. I have some family members that are willing to invest in the property.
So you're taking a big risk?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions, further questions for the applicants? Saying none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now bring application number CUP 23-22, conditional use permit located at 2440 South Highway 94, back to the commission for consideration. Any questions for staff, comments?
Yes. Staff, legal question. Conditional use request is for conducting weddings and/or wedding receptions or other private parties. I've never been to a wedding where I sold tickets online and the general public could buy and come. I've never had a family reunion or that is a concern to me, is that this was not going to meet that condition from what they've told us tonight.
And what I would say to that is, one, we do not have private parties defined within our ordinances, so I think to some extent it would be a semantic and staff interpretation of it. What I would say is if you grant the conditional use permit, it would be limited to that use that is within the statute, like these things that they list in the packet and things like that. That's not what is being necessarily granted. So it'd be hard for me to advise on that point, what constitutes private or public at this point in this juncture, but I understand what you're saying in terms of,
But so they could sell tickets and do tattoos. They could, so I think that saying it's open-ended, it's up to suggestion, it's up to interpretation, is a very dangerous slope.
And I understand, and I understand the point on that there, yeah.
Because once it's there, it's there.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I have big concerns about that.
Now, we've been defining that is either membership and guests or a predefined group of people. Like, for instance, if I go to a wedding party, I may or may not know people there. So
right.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But at least the group is predefined. If someone, quote, outside of the group, however that's defined, comes to the door, then they wouldn't be let in.
Yes, but you don't sell tickets to the wedding online and invite people that you don't know from other areas to come.
Well, I would say, again, that it's a predefined group of people.
Yeah,
I think that's about as good as you can do in terms of defining what private parties mean.
Yeah, because you're not opening it up to the public. You're not just calling and sending it out to the internet saying, hey, we're having an event, just come and pay. You're probably defining it as you're going to have a group of people.
I just want to make sure from a legal perspective that that's within, I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying within the legal definition of understanding, because that's what they're going to be doing, is selling tickets online.
ticket
And again,
service.
it'll be a predefined, I don't disagree with that, it'll be a predefined group, but it could be because that means they could do any predefined group there. They could have, this doesn't sound like an extremism, but you're opening another door.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, what I would suggest is that we will work with the county staff and with the county counselor to address your concern. My thought was that tickets are limiting. You clearly disagree with that, and I respect your opinion. So let us work with the county counselor, because they're intended to be private events. They're not intended to be public. We're very comfortable with that. And I agree, you're not going to sell tickets to a wedding. That's simply not going to happen.
Right. Well,
I agree with that.
And it's not that I think these are bad events at all. Please don't take it that way.
I
I'm taking
understood.
it as when you open a door for one
Understood.
thing, you're opening it to interpretation, and then you're opening up to legal actions and legal ramifications of, well, I think this is okay, because I sell tickets to
Right.
it, and I know that there's going to be 85 felons there, but I know there's 85 felons there, so it's okay.
Well,
Now,
I would
is that
not
an
be okay
extreme?
I think, to Mr. Kester, but that's.
But you see what I'm saying? It can get to there. So that's my concern, is give an inch, take a mile.
Right, and so I appreciate you bringing it up. I think what we need to do, and I'm certainly comfortable making a condition, we'll work with the staff and with the county counselor to make sure that these are private events within the definition of the code, because we are going to comply with the code. And so that's to our benefit too. We don't want to have somebody coming and saying, well, you haven't been complying with the code. So getting clarity with that, I think, is a great suggestion, and we'll follow up and we'll do that. And I would assume in the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to come up with that answer before this goes to the council. I would expect that. So I think that's the best we can do to respond to it. I do think it's a valid concern, and we want to meet it.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, what is the master plan state for this property? Is it agritourism right now?
It has a base recommendation for agricultural, and then it has an overlay for agricultural tourism. But what I would say is that once you have the zoning in place, you rely more on the zoning than you do the master plan for conditional use permits. Because the conditional use, or the master plan doesn't really define what conditional use permits can take place. It's really the zoning that does.
Right. We're seeing if we follow the master plan, they've actually got a whole lot more uses that they could have here. But I share the same kind of concern that we were talking about. We have a private party, and I could call it a private party, me going to the Roadhouse and getting 100 bikes that's a mile from this property and coming back up and hosting a private event and paying to rent the place. I know that's not going to happen, but the conditional use permit allows it to happen. And I think that's a concern for me. I'm not worried about the 40 people on a Sunday afternoon that's coming to this event and having indoor music. I'm just not. I think that development is good down there. What I'm worried about is the Saturday at 10:30 and it not getting shut down, and there's no way for us to control it.
You know, what I would request is that we table this.
That's what I was going to ask. Can we table this to get better definition?
Sure, and let us go and meet with the county council and with the staff, and we'll nail this down. It's been helpful for me to hear the conversation, things you're concerned about and things you aren't concerned about, to try and give us some parameters, because, we're exploring this as well. So that's what I would request.
That's a smart decision.
Robert, I've got a chicken or the egg question here.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the number of people, whether it's 168 or 160 or 120, which will then determine the number of parking places, okay? But isn't the septic tank design going to, in a way, determine the number of people?
Well, let me start with the parking
The
question.
number of people will tell you what kind of septic tank you have to build.
Well, but my question is, can you
Set.
build,
First.
so Mr. Baker, that's your field too, what do you?
I'm the sewer guy. I think you can build this, you just designed the septic for
The
the
number. You
number
said a
of
number,
people
we say
that you
150
use, and
and-
But
I think
wouldn't
there's
the-
plenty of room for it.
Wouldn't be the condition of the space and the condition of the soil and
Yeah.
potentially put limits on how big of a septic system you could have?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, one of these may really, instead of us deciding you can only have this many people,
That'll dictate the septic size.
yeah.
Right, that may well do that, that's absolutely correct. And again, I look at that as, within the parameters that you folks approve and the council approves for the conditional use permit, then we go from there with a site plan. And we get much more granular. We're going to DNR. We're figuring out a lot more of those details. And, with respect, we need to kind of take them a little bit in order, so.
No, agreed. You don't want to spend a bunch of money if it's never going to go.
Precisely.
100%
But those
understand
things
that.
have to be addressed, and we will address them in time.
I think instead of tabling, can we just make it a condition that they work with the county council, or make it condition number 10, that they work with the definition of private, public event?
But I want to hear what that is beforehand.
It's up to the applicant. You want to table it, we could table it.
Well, what we want is a favorable recommendation.
I'm gonna
And what I'm hearing is that there are concerns and uncertainty. And so, there's not a fire burning down the barn or a windstorm at this point. So we'll table it, and we'll come back and hopefully have better definition. Because we need to know that too, and that's fine. We don't have a
Any
problem with
other
that.
questions, concerns? Hearing none, there's, Chair will entertain a motion to table, I guess, we don't table, we continue, don't we?
Continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To continue, application CUP 23-22. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion's been made,
Second.
by Ms. Baylor, she made the motion, Ms. Kirchner made the second. Mr. Fromm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
Ms. Baylor?
Yes.
Ms. Barr's not here. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Not here. Ms. Kirchner?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So this is continued.
Which date?
This would be, well, for now, it'd be the November, let me get my phone on here. November 15th is our next date.
And obviously, if we don't have the answers we need, we'll
would
send
go
a
to
letter
state's
requesting for the
application.
continuance. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you guys want to leave that we're here for that, go for it.
Did one of you have my certification up there?
It's down here at the end.
Okay. I'll let them get out of here.
This one doesn't have too long.
This next one shouldn't.
You set precedent. It gets harder to argue later. All right.
Okay. Whew. Next item on our agenda is application PRE 23-10, preliminary plat for Creekside at Somers subdivision. Property owners are Mary E. Blankenship, Ted L. Gouge, Laura A. Roush, Gail A. Wilms, Joan M. Grill, and Golly.
Grelly.
Okay, and Richard F. Gouge. Applicant is Payne Family Homes. Engineer is Volts Incorporated. Requested zoning is R1E Single Family Residential District, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size. The plat area is 14.81 acres. Proposed lots, 41 lots, 2.8 dwellings per acre gross. Location is 2320 Somers Road, across Somers Road from Liberty High School, adjacent to the city of O'Fallon, and near the city of Lake St. Louis. This is located in Council District 2. Staff.
At your June 21st meeting, the applicant had 3 cases before you. One was to rezone the property from agricultural to single-family residential. Second, a conditional use permit to allow narrower lots and a reduced side yard setback, but not a reduction in the lot size. And the third thing that was before you was a preliminary plat. So at that meeting on June 21st, which you may remember was that big, long meeting, everyone was there really late. And so I would say the motion was to, make sure I get this right. Motion was to approve the application, finding that no unusual case exists to justify the building of a stub street, which I'll talk about in a second, and that the preliminary plat meets all the technical requirements of the county. So I would say I wasn't perfectly clear on the motion and the last time, but I think your intent was to approve that preliminary plat. After that meeting, the county council approved the zoning, the rezoning, but they denied the conditional use permit. So for that reason, the applicant's back before you with a revised preliminary plat that has 41 lots instead of 45 lots. If I'm interpreting it correctly, there's some, because there's a little less open space than there was before, there's a little less, a little bit fewer amenities on site than there were previously, but it does meet the technical requirements of Chapter 410 of the subdivision regulations, with the exception of the stub street to the northern property line. So the Planning and Zoning Commission has the ability to allow not extending a street to the property line to carry on to connect with other streets. You have that ability in unusual circumstances. So I put back in the packet the rationale that was provided for you at the June Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for not providing a stub street. But in county staff's view, there is a street that stubs 2 lots to the north on the property line. There's a sign posted at the end of that street that says, someday this street's going to be extended. And the intent is to interconnect streets. Otherwise, Summers Road is going to just keep having all these these cul-de-sacs. If every lot fronting Summers Road just ends up in a cul-de-sac, that's really going to impact the future carrying capacity and the traffic circulation on Summers Road. So in county staff's view, it meets all the technical requirements except for the stub street requirement, but you should know that you have the ability in unusual circumstances to waive that requirement.
Well, Robert, looking at the plat, this stub would be between, on the plat, the new plat that we're considering, this would be between lots 15 and 16?
Right.
Somewhere in that area, yes. Now, the grading that is being proposed by the developer, it is showing a grade differential. It looks like to me like they want to grade the lot flat, and then it would go up at the back side of the lots, up a grade. That's not necessarily reflecting the natural grade, but
Yeah.
I'm sure the Dave Voles can explain that better than I can.
Now, I'm assuming the subdivision on the other side of the white fence, I saw your picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Belmont or Belmonte Circle, I'm not sure which.
That's all public streets?
Yeah, yeah, in the city of O'Fallon, I think.
Any other questions for staff?
Is there any issue with them coming out right there at the school?
No, as a matter of fact, you really want that driveway from the school to line up with their street, which they're showing. That's what they're proposing. You don't want like a crooked leg intersection where you have these weird turning movements potentially.
Yeah, if you look.
We talked about that, and
Yes.
at that time, I think I
Yeah.
remember that.
So help me with this one more time, I'm really sorry. Why did the county council not approve it?
They did approve the rezoning.
Right.
They did not approve the conditional use permit for the
The setbacks.
narrow lots and the side yard setback reduction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Ask the applicant to come forward. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is David Voles. I'm with Voles Engineering, and our address is 10849 Indian Head Industrial Boulevard, 63132.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, I'm going to give this a practice here. Not as easy as it looks. Okay, here we go. Again, my name's David Voles with Voles Engineering, and with me tonight is Jeff Tooley with Payne Family Homes and Ted Gouch, who's the owner representative. And again, tonight we're seeking preliminary plat approval on a 14.8 acre site that's on the east side of Summers Road. And the site, as you know, is familiar to you. Back in June, as was pointed out, we were here before you, and we got the zoning approved by the city county council. So what was not approved was the CUP request, and but the site is already zoned R1E, and that's been approved already. And what you have here tonight is just a plan that's basically slightly different. The street pattern's the same, the drainage is the same, the grading is the same, everything is basically the same, except for we re-racked the lots, and we went from 45 lots down to 41 lots. Here's an overall area of the site, and the site's shown in red, and to the north, again, you can see Highway N, and Summers Road is right on the frontage. Liberty High School is just across the street from us, and Double D's to the south. And you can see all the development that's around it. Caledonia's over there on the east, next to Highway 40. Here's just a closer aerial, and the point of this aerial is just to show you what the county is and what unincorporated is. So the area that's kind of shaded in red is the county, and the rest of it is either Lake St. Louis to the north, and most of it's the city of O'Fallon now. And in fact, Liberty High School is also in the city of O'Fallon, but you can see how much of that's kind of chopped up and pieced around, but the red area is what's left in the county. This is a closer aerial of the site, and you can see the barn right across from the entrance to Liberty is where the existing house on this piece of property is, and the barn right behind it. Liberty High School, the entrance is what we're going to line up with. To the north is Mr. Dick Herber's property, and his house is actually the thing that's closest to Summers Road. And that house, I just wanted to point out, is over 300 feet away from our property line, so it's a pretty good distance. Along the south end of our property, kind of meandering there, is a creek, and that's where the sanitary sewer is as well that we're going to tie into. And what I want to point out is that site looks flat, but it actually falls from the north to the south towards that creek, and there's about a 30-foot elevation change from our north property line all the way to our south property line. This is the new site plan. And again, it's 41 lots on 14.8 acres, which is about 2.7 homes per acre. All the lots meet the R1E zoning. They're 70-foot wide minimum, 7,000 square foot, 20-foot front yard, 25-foot rear yard, and 7-foot side yard. So all of these meet the R1E zoning district already. Lake, exactly the same location. Basically, it's the same lake as you saw before. It's a half acre. And common ground is almost the same area as it was before. This site shows 22% of the site being common ground, and we maintain that buffer along Summers Road to just give a little bit of protection to those lots that back up to it. And again, the entrance is across from Liberty. And then our detention basin is basically the lake as well. And I'm going to flip and show you what the original site plan was that was approved. And just stare at the street and see how much it's changed. That's the original plan that was approved back in June, and this is the plan that we have now. So basically, the major change there is the street pattern's the same, the lake's the same, the common ground's the same, everything pretty much is the same, except for we re-racked it and we have 4 less lots.
Was the other site plan approved? 'Cause
I
I didn't think the CUP was approved.
No, the preliminary plat was recommended by approval from you guys, went to the, so I don't think the county council actually voted on it but they approved the zoning and the planning commission approved.
Okay.
Or recommended approval. I guess they approved it contingent upon the zoning.
Okay.
So the planning commission approved
We approved
this
the-
plan contingent upon the zoning, which the zoning was passed.
At the end of the cul-de-sac, on the original, there's common ground where we were requesting the cut-through. Now it's not, so that you can put a cut-through, correct? I'm just trying to remember. I can't tell.
We're not,
Sub-street or whatever, Step Street?
Yeah.
That's on the other side of the cul-de-sacs.
yeah, there was never an intent to put a stub street to the east there.
Okay.
And basically, when we stretched the lots out, lot 15 and lot 16 are actually slightly wider. It just didn't make any sense to put a 5-foot common ground strip there. But basically, it's the same as that. We just made those lots a little bit wider. So not all those lots are 70-foot wide. Some of them are actually wider than 70 feet. In fact, I'll get to that in just a second. But I just wanted to show you that the site plans are very, very, very similar. And that's what was approved conditional upon the zoning back in June. This is the grading plan, and I just want you to understand the grade. So again, it's 30 foot a fall from the north property line to the south property line. So I start off with a terrace there, adjacent to Mr. Dick Herber's property, and that's a 12-foot terrace coming down. And then it's flat across those lots that are on the north side of the road. Then the lots on the south side of the road are a walkout, so I gain 6 more feet coming down there, and then it drains down to the lake and eventually down to the creek. So that's how I'm making up all that grade across the property. In fact, east-west, it's pretty much a 2% road going across there, but those cul-de-sacs coming down to the south are around 5%. So there is some grading challenges here. This just reiterates the fact that we're asking for a straight R1E preliminary plat approval. The lot sizes in R1E are 7,000, and our smallest lot here is 7,900. In fact, our average lot size here is 9,500. The front yards we comply with, the rear yards, the side yards, the lot width. So we're not asking for a conditional use permit, we're not asking for any variances, and the preliminary plat meets the R1E requirements for that. We now have a builder. Last time we didn't have a builder. So it's going to be Rawls Homes, and these are some of the homes that they gave me the elevations for. They build in the area. They're a pretty high-quality home builder, but these are just some sample homes that they will offer in this community. These are 3-car front entry homes, different elevations you can see. And these are just some of the interiors that they would propose here. Can't get rid of this Stubb Street issue, so I'm going to talk about it once again. So I brought this up at the last time. We had a lengthy conversation about it, had a lengthy conversation with the county council about it. And I asked the question, engineers first off and planners love Stubb Streets. I try to always connect to Stubb Streets, but there has to be a purpose for it. So what is the purpose of a Stubb Street? It's going to be to provide access to an adjacent property, which is not necessary here. Around, if you look at the east of us, to the south of us, it's all these large 3-acre parcels that are actually undergoing redevelopment right now. You see all those big houses that are being built along Summers Road, and even inside that community now, there's big homes. Those are basically tear-down houses where the homes are going to be redeveloped into big houses. So it doesn't need to have access to those pieces. Health and safety is another reason for Stubb Street. In this case, I actually have an approval letter for this layout already from the Wentzville Fire Protection District. And their policy is if you have under 100 homes, you don't need a secondary access. And then the last thing would be connectivity to roadways. Well, the only thing that's going to happen with connecting that in the future is I'm just moving the traffic down 1,000 feet from where you can get onto Summers Road now. I'm just accessing Summers Road in another location on the same street. So it's not providing any real connectivity. And this is my conclusion, that we're solving a problem that I don't think exists. There's no gain, and it's going to make our community less desirable. The grading along North Property Line is a problem. I'm just moving the traffic down, and I'm providing a cut-through for people who want to save 30 seconds getting to the high school. So it's going to impact our community greatly while providing very, very, very little benefit. And the same design that you see here is the same design that this unique situation qualified for back in June. So,
No, where the stubs,
so
where is the stub at?
There is no stub.
I'll go back to the aerial here. So if you see our site right there, that community, that's Belmont, that's to the north of us.
Okay.
And you can see their stub coming down like that. So the road would have to actually go across 2 properties. Mr. Dick Herbert doesn't quite go up to there, but there's 2 parcels there where it would come
Okay, so
through.
it's not on what would be the eastern,
No.
it's right in the middle going north.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would come off of what I'm calling Belmont, which is right across the street from Quick Trip, that road that's coming down like this, and it's heading towards the E in our word site. See, all right, so,
Yeah, that's why there's a back gate at Whitmore. High school kids cutting through.
right. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I would also point out that if you look at the agenda here, it actually says that we're requesting rezoning, but we're not. We're requesting a preliminary plat approval, so.
Well, it should be current zoning. Any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you.
Next time I would do this, I don't want to go after Brad, so.
Get it in quicker.
Yeah. Thank you.
You have to be
That's all I
nicer to
can tell
Melissa.
You ever see Brad on it, you
Yeah,
don't want to know.
we'll now open the public hearing for PRE 23-10. Yeah. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings with the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Jasmine Sereno Amory. I live in 2227 Circle Drive, O'Fallon, Missouri, 63368. Our property butts up against lots 15 and 16, just to give you reference on why I'm here. Last time when we met in June, I brought up the issue of the traffic. I appreciate that he's lining up the road at least to go with, I believe that would be the south entrance of Liberty High School. But my question was, and it was not addressed again, was whether there would be traffic lights or a crosswalk there, because there are kids that walk through there, and it's a safety concern. I'm a paramedic, been paramedic for 27 years, so it's one of those things that sits in my mind every day. You know, my kids went there, they graduated there, and they used to walk that, and it was very dangerous. And by adding that many more people living there, I really am concerned about that. So that's my first concern. The second concern I have is where the little lake is and the retention basin. And he says it does eventually drain into the creek. The issue that I have with that is the creek parallels Oak Drive, and when we have heavy rains, it does flood, and the water does come across the street. And so when you're considering this, I would like it to see that DNR is addressed. What can we do to mitigate, make sure that that neighborhood that's behind, which includes me, doesn't get flooded. There are 2 bridges that this would affect, and I'm just afraid that with that much more drainage, we're just going to be completely flooded out behind there and not be able to get out when we have
That's why
heavy
they're
rains.
putting that in, to keep that away. keep
Well,
that
and
problem
I get that, but he also said then it drains into the creek, and that's,
After it's detained in the detention basin.
It holds it and only releases it at a slow pace. That's why they do it that way. Otherwise, all that water would run right into the creek if they didn't have that.
okay.
Just like if you're in a subdivision, or just a.
She
you
lives
just-
right behind this.
Right
this-
behind.
Well, I know that, I just don't know if that's a
It's
subdivision.
technically, I think it's like Duckett Creek. It's a very old subdivision, was there in the
You probably have
60s.
detention too?
She doesn't.
We do not.
You don't, okay.
Yeah.
No, it's that old, and what we have there are 2.
If it got developed, it would have retention.
Or
Yeah, if it
2
got
bridges in
developed,
the
they would,
creek,
I mean, just,
yeah.
this is just practical engineering standards. I mean, you're still gonna have flooding on the creek because of storm events that occur.
Right.
But, you know, this is what's required from an engineering standpoint. Whether it works or not, that's debatable, but that's what it is.
Well, I guess my point is I just don't want it to be somebody else's headache, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, we have one in our neighborhood, that's what it does. It holds the water, releases it at a slow pace, because we got a creek right behind it, and
Okay.
there's flood events no matter what. And there were flood events before they even had a subdivision in there, so we've actually stopped the flood events by having a retention.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
Yeah.
that's all I have, is
We
just,
don't
like I
want you to
said.
worry too much about it. I mean, they work, but you're right, depending on how much water you get.
Right.
That's a good comment, though, about the crosswalk, though.
Yeah.
I think that's something.
I don't know, is there something going? I don't,
Is that Summers, is that
Is that O'Fallon Road?
Is that
Is that a-
City of O'Fallon, or is that
They're undergoing,
County?
It's county, it's barely, because I was part of a committee that tried to put a stoplight in front of the high school a few
Right.
years back. And Lake St. Louis really would not work with us, which is why it's over there in Paul Renaud. That's why that light is, it's off a little, or it feels like, you know, you're accessing the south side of the football field instead.
is it further?
But anyway, so I just know what sort of
It may
uphill
not
battle.
warrant a regular traffic signal, just come to the traffic volume, but it may, I mean, I think the crosswalk is something that this, I mean, especially if you have school kids wanting to cross Summers Road. but-
And you have novice drivers coming out of there, you know, so it's just a consideration, that's
well, that'd be something that the developer on their own can't do. That either has to be by the county or.
Yeah, I guess county staff would probably look at that.
well, as I understand it, the City of O'Fallon, they're undertaking a Summers Road widening and improvement project right now.
Okay.
And they held a public meeting in March. Their project schedule is design in 2022 and 2023, land acquisition in 2023, and construction in 2024.
I guess
And
that's,
as part of that, they're going to not only resurface the entire Summers Road, but they're saying widening it to 3 lanes for the entire length. Now, presumably, as part of that, they're going to study what sort of improvements within the right-of-way are necessary, like marking and crosswalks and pedestrian signals or whatever is necessary.
So this plan doesn't reflect that widening? I mean, I'm not seeing it shown on there.
There's no widening in this location. That widening is the last piece, which is down by Double D. There's just one small piece that isn't 3 lanes already.
Is this 3 lanes here?
It is.
It is. It already is 3 lanes right here.
Okay.
In fact, there's a turn lane already coming into this side.
Correct. But anyway, so those are just some concerns I have about this, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Does he ever sleep? Does he sleep?
You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C., A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535 in O'Fallon. First of all, entire region is changing, and there's a lot of redevelopment of different properties, a lot of larger acreage shrinking down to more density type subdivisions. I'm glad that they're finally reducing the lot size and meeting our codified code in terms of the minimum setbacks. But 41 lots will most likely yield and bring 61 more school children to the Wentzville School District. I see all kinds of letters from other partners and other utilities. However, I don't see a letter from the Wentzville School District concerning or confirming their blessing and any rationale behind this subdivision going forward. Space for children is a premium in the Wentzville School District, and they're bursting at the seams. Liberty High School is the capacity. Frontier Middle School on Missouri Highway Double D is the capacity. Discovery Ridge Elementary School on Summers Road is the capacity. So I don't see that letter from the school district that they can handle these additional 60-plus students from the subdivision. Transportation and bus pickup, I don't see a letter from the Wentzville Transportation Department about the turning radius to make sure that these students can be picked up in a safe manner. Now, I did see on March 10th of 2023 a Wentzville Fire Protection District letter just saying that they're in the Wentzville Fire Protection District and that they're served by Station Number 4 in Darden Prairie. But I don't see that they give a blessing to this subdivision and have enough turning radius for ladder trucks, fire engines, and other apparatus. Eventually, the lands to the east, I feel, may develop since those are on larger acreage. And so I would ask that there be a substreet included in this plan for the lands to the east. The street connector of Belmont Circle is a thoroughfare street. It needs to be done at the expense of the developer and not at the expense of other parties. This makes sure that traffic patterns flow easily, and it also opens up development to the northern parcel of the DeKerber property. And I think that needs to be borne by the developer at their expense. I feel the developer has a contribution for any roadway improvements and safety upgrades in the shared roadway that's shared owned by both St. Charles County and the city of O'Fallon. The county in its portions have made some improvements, and it is a jointly owned roadway by both the county and the city of O'Fallon, and I think the developer needs to contribute any upgrades or any improvements, and it shouldn't be borne by taxpayers. I'm in agreement with the alignment of the roadway with Liberty High School. That just makes common sense and safety sense to meet roadway standards. As you all know, Summers Road and Missouri Highway N has created huge traffic backups. Morning's rush hour, school drop-offs, it backs all the way up back onto 364, and Summers Road is a nightmare in terms of the morning rush hour, school drop-off. In the afternoons, the rush hour and school dismissal, you have the same issue. There needs to be something addressed by someone in county government and the city of O'Fallon for traffic plans. We keep putting more homes, more residents, because this development of 41 lots will definitely probably yield over 100 new residents and probably 60 to 70 of those are going to be 60 or 70 more cars, which will create probably about another 300 trips during a one day's time. So we really need to talk about these traffic backups and traffic plans to mitigate safety concerns and just backups in general. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing for PRE 23-10. Ask the applicant to come back. Anyone have any additional questions for the applicant? No one? Thank you, sir. You have anything?
I would say that I think the county highway department that asked for a crosswalk there. So we actually do have that shown on the most recent plan. So
Perfect.
it's just a striped walk, but it goes and it ties into their walk. The other thing I would say about traffic, and this is just a general thing, I'm old and I've lived out there a long time. I drove on Summers Road when it was a 2-lane road. The traffic, when there was no signal at either end and driving that thing was dangerous. I know that there's traffic out there. It's 1,000 times better than it was when I moved out there 25 years ago. So it's safer and it's better, and I really appreciate all the road improvements that are proactively done. That road, Summers Road, was actually improved to 3 lanes, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, after somebody died at D and Double D, or D in Summers Road, Double D in Summers Road. And my kids drove on that road all the time when they were learning to drive, and, it's much better than it ever was, and I think that sometimes development actually brings better roads. So that's just my soapbox, which has nothing to do with this project, but I thought I'd take this chance.
Thank you, sir.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
I guess I'm actually for the stub road. Maybe I'm one of the only ones that are. I think Mr. Dick Herber's going to sell at some point, and I think the land all around this is going to sell. It's just the nature of the beast where we're at. What are the ramifications for your project by putting one in? I mean,
Well,
is there a way to reduce some of these lots down and we can make it happen?
Again, what would be the purpose of this stub road? Because it's not going to take any traffic off of Summers Road. And what it's going to do, it's going to allow a cut through so that when you hit this traffic that I hear about coming towards the school, people are going to go through Belmont, they're going to come down through the Dick Herber property, they're going to come around here, and then they're going to try to go straight across. I think it's going to cause a nightmare. It's going to definitely affect all of the people who live in this community. Yeah, for the residents of this, for the residents of Dick Herber. When Dick Herber gets developed, by the way, his property is almost identical to our property. The lake is in the same place as we're proposing the lake. His access is going to be right across the street from the northern access for the Liberty High School. His layout is going to be identical to our layout. He doesn't want that stub street. He just, like I said, whoever develops that property is not going to want to do that. They're going to want to have their own access point off of Summers Road. And I don't see the benefit because you're not going to go to the east. See all those houses there? Those people would be very unhappy if you tried to bring a stub street over to those large parcels that are to the east. And all of those are being redeveloped as single houses. So I don't see the benefit. It's not helping the health and safety. It's not helping the residents. It's not getting you to another road. It's just moving you down a little bit on the same road.
I agree with that.
I agree too.
So that.
I think if you're in those back lots, you're not going to go north through the subdivision. You're going to go right out to Summers. And just like when you come into the subdivision, you're not going to cut through the subdivision to go to your house. You're going to go right to Summers and pull into your subdivision.
And if I was lot 1 through 10, I wouldn't want those people driving through my house using it as a cut through either, right? You know, so in that same argument.
Plus, if you're going to do a stub, you're going to need to do stub on the other side because there's going to be development on the other side, even though there's a creek there.
Right.
I mean, if you say that's the kind of development that's going to happen on that, I'm agreeing with you is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You'd have to put a stub all the way through the
Right, well,
subdivision.
you'd have to get to some road other than
Right,
the
to
same
help,
road.
right.
So you're
Sure.
therefore trying
Yeah,
to
you're
get
kinda-
down to
you're kinda
Double D
restricted,
some
sure.
way.
Yeah.
So,
We're with you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. Bring PRE 23-10 back to the commission for consideration. Any
Motion.
additional questions, comments? Motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Fromm made the motion. Ms. Bamer seconded. Ms. Barr's not here. Ms. Culver's not here. Ms. Kushner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
And I vote yes, it passes. Agenda. The next item on our agenda is approval of the September 20th, 2023 meeting minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and approve the September 20th, 2023 meeting minutes. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Minutes have been approved. Any division update?
I don't like to backtrack, but I thought for sharing purposes, I thought I'd let you know that, because I didn't get a chance to say this earlier. But in terms of parking for the facility that we were talking about earlier, for the
Venue.
application on 94. So the closest land use category is auditorium, theater, gymnasium, stadium, arena, meeting rooms and places, convention hall, or center. So if it has fixed seating, it's 1 per 3 seats, parking spaces. If it does not have fixed seating, it's 1 per 100 square feet of gross floor area. So 1 per 100 square feet of gross floor area is maybe like a minimum of 35 parking spaces or something like that. So that's the minimum required. So I just want to give you a sense of what the minimum.
70 is acceptable.
70 is far above what the minimum required is. So I just thought I would relate that because I didn't have a chance to say that earlier.
Any other questions for staff? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.